the exotic collector. Reginald Carter was the epitome of excess. His sprawling mansion on the edge of town resembled more of a biosphere than a home, filled with glass-enclosed habitats, jungle-like greenery, and the constant hum of exotic life. A Komodo dragon lounged near the billiards table. A scarlet macaw squawked profanities from its perch above the fireplace. He had everything from fanged frogs to a rare albino capybara, yet his hunger for the unique, the unattainable, knew no bounds. So when a shadowy dealer approached him at a private auction with whispers of a creature beyond imagination, Reginald didn't hesitate. He wired an obscene sum of money without even asking for specifics. It was the promise of exclusivity that hooked him. The idea that he, and he alone, would own a creature no one else on Earth had ever seen. The delivery came at midnight. The crate was enormous, carved from some unrecognizable black wood that seemed to pulse faintly under the dim light. No sound came from within. The delivery man, a gaunt figure who refused to make eye contact, thrust a clipboard into Reginald's hands, muttered something about not opening it at night, and scurried away like a rat. Reginald scoffed. Not at night? Ridiculous. He was too impatient to wait. Alone in his opulent living room, he pried the crate open with a crowbar, eager to glimpse his new prize. At first, he was underwhelmed. Inside, nestled in a bed of moss, was a small, unassuming creature about the size of a house cat. Its skin shimmered like oil on water, shifting colors with every movement. It had 6 legs, a serpentine tail, and eyes that glowed faintly green, like bioluminescent jellyfish. Its most striking feature, however, was its face, or lack thereof. Where a mouth or nose should have been, there was only smooth, featureless flesh. "Well," Reginald said aloud, his voice tinged with disappointment, "you're unique, I suppose." The creature blinked. Reginald blinked back, and then it laughed. Not a growl, not a chirp, a laugh, high-pitched and mimicking Reginald's own voice. The sound was so uncanny it sent shivers down his spine. "All right then. You're a mimic," he muttered, trying to shake off his unease. "That's interesting." But as he reached out to touch it, the creature darted forward, faster than anything he had ever seen, and coiled around his arm. Its skin was slick and unnaturally warm, and for a moment, Reginald felt a strange pressure against his mind, like an intrusive thought he couldn't shake. He yanked his arm away, and the creature slithered back into its crate, making a sound that could only be described as a mocking chuckle. Over the next few days, Reginald began noticing peculiarities. The creature, which he had named Eris, after the goddess of discord, refused to eat. It didn't drink water or move much from its crate. Yet every morning it seemed bigger. What had started as a house cat-sized curiosity was now closer to a medium-sized dog. What unnerved him more, however, was the laughter. It wasn't limited to Eris anymore. He'd hear it echoing in the mansion's empty halls, always in his own voice, always slightly off, like a recording played at the wrong speed. And then the dream started. Reginald dreamed of endless voids, of stars blinking out one by one, of himself standing at the center of a collapsing universe, while something enormous and featureless watched him with glowing green eyes. Each morning he woke drenched in sweat, only to find Eris sitting closer to his bed, its oily skin rippling, its body now the size of a Great Dane. He tried to confide in his staff, but they dismissed him. "Stress," his butler suggested. "Too much time with the animals," his housekeeper said. But one by one they began to leave. First the cook, then the gardener, until only Reginald and Eris remained. One night, Reginald decided he'd had enough. He was going to return the creature to the dealer, demand his money back, and be done with it. But as he approached the now gigantic crate, Eris stepped out on its own, towering over him. It no longer resembled anything remotely animalistic. Its legs had multiplied, its tail had split into writhing tendrils, and its faceless head seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy. "All right, you little monster," Reginald growled, wielding the crowbar. Back in the crate, Eris tilted its head, or what passed for a head, and began to laugh again. Only this time, it wasn't just Reginald's voice. It was every voice he'd ever known. His late mother, his ex-wife, his childhood best friend. The cacophony was unbearable, a symphony of mockery that made his ears bleed. And then Eris spoke. "You wanted rare, Reginald," it said, the voices overlapping like static. "You wanted unique. I am the last of my kind, and soon, so will you be." The creature lunged and Reginald screamed. But instead of claws or teeth, it wrapped him in its oily body, pulling him into itself like a black hole. The world around him began to distort, colors bleeding into one another, as reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. In his final moments, Reginald saw the truth. Eris wasn't an animal. It wasn't even alive in the way he understood. It was a remnant of something ancient, something that fed on obsession and greed, something that would unravel entire dimensions just to amuse itself. And then everything went dark. Weeks later, the mansion went up for auction. Potential buyers were warned of its sordid history, the mysterious disappearance of its owner, the strange sounds heard at night, the way animals refused to step foot on the property. In a dusty corner of the mansion, forgotten amid the chaos, sat the black crate. Its lid was ajar, and inside something small and unassuming nestled in the moss. It was no larger than a house cat, its oily skin shimmering faintly as its green eyes blinked open. And from the shadows, a laugh echoed.